This story happened to me when I was a lot younger than I am now, about 15 years ago. I was 23 years old, and the school year was ending. So, my buddies and I decided to go on a graduation camping trip to celebrate the end of the year. We had been planning this trip for a few weeks, and when the day finally came, we were all super excited. We drove to our camping spot, and the scenery during the drive was relaxing and peaceful. Watching the hills and countryside go by made me feel relaxed. There were 5 of us in total. I drove up there with one of my friends, and the other 3 took the other car. The camping spot was about a 3-hour drive from where we lived, so the commute wasn't too bad. When we arrived at the spot, everything seemed normal. It was a nice day, which made setting up camp quite easy. We quickly set everything up, including the tent, and decided to make a fire to relax. As the fire crackled, we got deep into a conversation. We discussed what we were going to do after high school and whether we would ever see these people again. The conversation had a somewhat melancholic tone, but I enjoyed having deep conversations with my friends, so I was having a good time. The peacefulness of the evening, with the stars overhead, made me feel incredibly relaxed. I was lost in my thoughts and the conversation. Suddenly, a twig snapped not too far away from us. It was loud enough for all of us to turn our heads simultaneously towards the source of the sound, which came from a few feet into the forest. We all exchanged nervous glances and waited, hoping it was just an animal or the sounds of the forest. After a few minutes of silence, we resumed our conversation, but this time at a lower volume, still on edge. However, the silence only lasted about 5 minutes, and another twig snapped, this time from the opposite side of the first one. I nearly jumped out of my skin. To be safe, I grabbed an air horn and held down the trigger for a few seconds. The noise was deafening in the quiet forest, and it echoed for quite a distance. After I sounded the air horn, we could hear what sounded like 6 pairs of footsteps moving away from us, deeper into the woods. We immediately began to panic, unsure of what to do. We decided to pack up our belongings as fast as possible, but instead of leaving right away, we were foolishly determined not to leave our stuff behind. There were 5 of us, which gave us some confidence, but in hindsight, this decision was unwise. 2 of my friends hurriedly packed our belongings, while the rest of us stood guard, armed with bear spray, hatchets, and various other items. After about 5 minutes, we had packed most of our stuff, but we were too scared to continue, so we jumped into our cars to leave. I drove my car with 2 friends, and my other friends followed closely in their car. As I turned on my headlights, they revealed 2 figures partially hidden by trees, as if they were hiding. Without hesitation, I floored it down those gravel roads, with my friend's car right behind me. We were all pretty shaken up by the experience, but in a strange way, it brought us closer together as friends. It's a story that we've continued to share for years, and it's an experience none of us will ever forget.
Embark on a chilling journey like no other by subscribing to my channel. Join me as we explore the darkest depths of suspense, mystery, and thrills. Get ready for heart-pounding adventures, spine-tingling tales, and a constant adrenaline rush. Subscribe now and dare to delve into the unknown with us.
Camping in the fall is one of my favorite things to do. 3 years ago, my boyfriend and I decided to go on a very special camping trip for our anniversary. Where I live, the autumn weather is cool and crisp, making it the perfect time for a getaway in the woods. I love to hike and spend as much time as I can outdoors, and so does my boyfriend. A while back, when I was hiking in the forest where we planned to stay, I found this amazing spot to have a romantic picnic. It was about a 15-minute walk from one of the main trails, and it wasn't a challenging hike at all. To get there, you had to go off one of the main trails, around a semi-narrow bend, and climb a small but easy rock formation. When you reached this spot, it overlooked a picturesque town nearby, offering a breathtaking view and a flat area where we could sit for a picnic. I prepared the entire picnic for us, making sure to include his favorite snacks. On the day of the camping trip, it was a beautiful sunny day with a gentle breeze and not a cloud in the sky. We set up our camp and started our hike not long after. Holding hands, we hiked along the trail until we reached the special spot. I asked him to trust me as we went off the path, and although he was hesitant, he agreed. The short hike was easy, and we reached the spot in no time. He was blown away by the view, and was even more surprised when he saw his favorite snacks, which I had secretly packed. Today couldn't have gone any better, but suddenly, everything changed. While we were laughing and gazing at the beautiful view, my boyfriend stopped abruptly. He said he had heard something in the woods. I looked behind us into the dark trees but saw nothing. I told him he was crazy and tried to make light of it, thinking it was just the sounds of the forest or an animal. However, he insisted that I check out the woods, and somewhat annoyed, I agreed. I stepped into the dark forest and tried to make out any shapes. At first I saw nothing, but then the shadow figure moved. It was just a slight movement, almost like a shoulder shrug, but I saw it. Suddenly I felt intense anxiety and fear. I didn't want to alarm my boyfriend or worse, alert the potentially dangerous person I knew was already there. I returned to him and told him that I saw a person standing in the trees. He was visibly shaken, and I decided that our best course of action was to leave everything behind and make a run for it. As we ran, we heard the rustling of trees and cracking sticks behind us. The person was chasing us. My boyfriend tried to call the police, but there was no signal. We kept running until we reached the parking lot of the park trails, where there were already 2 police cars. The police were searching for the person who had mugged and robbed another person on the trail earlier that morning. The description matched the person we saw. We told the police everything, but they couldn't find the person by the time they entered the woods. They never did catch him, and we decided not to continue our camping trip, especially with a potential threat in the woods. To this day, we're hesitant about going on nature trails, and I haven't returned to that park. We've decided to stick to beach vacations from now on.
The forest has always been a comforting place for Mark. Tall pines loomed high in the sky, their needles rustling softly in the wind, and the scent of moss and fallen leaves filled the air. It was the perfect escape from the hustle and bustle of city life. So, when he and his friends decided to go camping in the heart of the forest, Mark was thrilled. Mark, Sarah, and Alex had set up their campsite next to a calm, moonlit lake, surrounded by a dense, dark forest. The blazing campfire danced with an eerie glow, casting long, wavering shadows that played tricks on their eyes. They sat around him wrapped in blankets, swapping scary camping stories to send shivers down each other's spines. "Have you heard of the silent thief of the forest?" Mark asked in a low, conspiratorial voice. Sarah and Alex exchanged puzzled looks. "No," they answered in unison. Mark leaned closer, his eyes reflecting the dim firelight. "It's an old legend here. They say there's a creature roaming these woods, a thief who takes your belongings while you sleep. But he doesn't just steal your stuff, he steals your memories as well." Sarah scoffed. "Come on, Mark. Don't try to scare us with old wives' tales." "Yes, we're not kids anymore," Alex said. Mark laughed. "Believe what you want, but the stories go back a long time. People say that if you hear strange noises at night, it means a thief is creeping around your campsite." They continued to exchange stories until late into the night, and their laughter gradually turned into a feeling of discomfort. The forest seemed to come alive with changing shadows, and every rustling leaf seemed like a whisper of legend. As the hours passed, Mark couldn't shake his constant feeling of discomfort. He looked around and noticed that his bag had been moved from its original place. He removed it as a result of wind or his own negligence. But the discomfort consumed him. When morning arrived, Mark woke up with a start. His heart raced when he realized his bag was missing. Panic washed over him as he frantically searched the campsite, waking up Sarah and Alex in the process. "Someone stole my backpack!" Mark shouted, his voice trembling. Sarah and Alex rubbed the sleep from their eyes and joined the search. Mark's backpack, containing their food, supplies, and a valuable family heirloom, was nowhere to be found. The quiet lake now became ominous, and the forest seemed darker than ever. "That's not funny, Mark," Sarah said. "Did you hide it as a joke?" Mark shook his head vigorously. "No, I swear I didn't do that. He was here last night." As they were scouring the campsite, they noticed something chilling. Small, indistinct footprints surrounded their tents, disappearing into the bushes. Alex muttered, "What kind of animal could do that?" As the day went on, the trio decided to venture into the woods in search of their stolen belongings. Anxiety hung in the air as they followed the faint trail of footprints, which became more defined as they went. It was as if someone was leading them into the forest. Hours passed, and the footprints led them to a secluded orchard. Mark's backpack was sitting in the middle, seemingly untouched. They packed their bags and left the forest, and their camping trip was over. The legend of the thief chased them as they left the car, leaving behind the dark forest and the eerie moonlit lake.